Ukraine in the 17th century. By the house there's a cherry orchard. The girls are singing as they walk, while the beetles buzz over the cherry trees. What a wonderful time to be alive. Hey, Polish authorities are forcibly restricting the rights of the Orthodox Church, and most likely, you'll have to pay increased taxes to your state. And for several decades in a row, you have been subjected to raids by the Tatars from the south. What a terrible time to be alive. After Kievan Rus collapsed due to foreign influences, most of Ukraine's lands fell to the Grand Duchy of Lithuania. Poland united with Lithuania via the Union of Lublin in 1569, forming the Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth. The Poles controlled the state. The agreement led to forced Catholicization. But in practice, it was the Poles who were in charge, and they were the ones who truly decided the fate of the state. Under the terms of the agreement, forced Catholicization of the population began. Local representatives of power became Polish nobles or people loyal to them. And the ordinary Ukrainian was oppressed in their rights and restricted in their craft and trade. And you know what? To hell with you. We are heading to the wild field. And the Ukrainians began to head to the wild field. This was a sparsely populated region in eastern Ukraine, where Polish authority existed, but unlike the western regions, it was much weaker, which only attracted the humiliated Ukrainian people with the promise of freedom. Now we will engage in farming and cattle breeding. And no one will bother us. This is true freedom. Hi guys, you're a Tatar, right? Yeah. You're going to take young girls and boys captive, right? Yeah. And you're probably going to rob me, right? Yeah. And you know what? Damn you, we will defend ourselves. And they began to defend themselves. Due to the constant raids by the Tatars, they had to take up self-defense on their own. And over the years, Ukrainians gained strong experience in fighting. The Polish authorities were tired of the constant raids from the south, and a decision was made to create organizations from Ukrainian warriors that would deal specifically with these raids. This is how Ukrainian Cossackdom developed. After a while, the Cossacks became such a powerful force that they participated in raids against neighboring states, began to serve under the crown of the king himself, and even became mercenaries in other European conflicts. In the village, Zboriv, a boy was born into a family of Cossacks from a minor feudal lineage, and they named him Bohdan Khmelnytsky. Bohdan's father, Mikhailo Khmelnytsky, was a Cossack and a sub-elder of Chehirin, while his mother came from a Cossack lineage. From a young age, he was raised in Cossack traditions, and after receiving an education at the Jesuit college in Lviv, he joined the Cossacks and began participating in battles. During one of the battles near Moscow, he personally saved the Polish king Władysław IV. By the way, it is believed that Bohdan was a supporter of the king and held him in deep respect. During the Polish-Ottoman War in 1620, he participated in the Battle of Sikora along with his father. Come on guys, we have to protect our lands from the Ottoman Empire. Let's fight for the spirit of our land. By the way, our scout reported that the Ottoman forces outnumber us by 4 times. Oh no. The Ottomans defeated the Polish Cossack forces, and Bohdan and his father were captured in Istanbul. But after the battle, Mikhailo, that is the father, fell ill and was on his deathbed. My son, may your heart always beat for a free Ukraine, for its dignity and independence. Cherish our land as your most precious treasure, and may your soul always be filled with strength and determination. Remember that we are Cossacks. Our will is unbreakable, and our fate is in our own hands. Live, my son. Live for the glory of Ukraine. Okay, Dad. I will become a worthy Cossack. And at that moment, Bohdan began to think differently. He mastered the Turkish and Tatar languages perfectly, and because of this, he served for 2 years on an Ottoman galley as a translator. He only further perfected the art of waging war, and under the influence of the Ottomans, converted to Islam. Wait, seriously. Well, the chronicler Mehmed Sinai writes that this is true, but it's probably just a legend. In 1622, he escaped from Ottoman captivity and was enrolled in the registered Cossacks. In the late 20s, he actively participated in the sea campaigns of the Zaporozhian Cossacks against Ottoman cities and even captured the suburbs of Istanbul. Bohdan returned home, grew a cool mustache, and married Hanna Sumkivna, but she would die. And later he will marry Olena. Khmelnytsky continued his career as a Cossack. He served in the Chehirin regiment and joined the military campaigns of the Cossacks against the Tatars and the Royal Army. During the Cossack uprisings against Polish rule, 1630-1638, he fought with the rebels as general scribe, but after the defeat, he was promoted to the rank of centurion. Thus, Bohdan Khmelnytsky became a respected Cossack and was counted among the higher Cossack elite. Poland suppressed Cossacks. 1638 law made most serfs. Autonomy ended, dependent on Poland, and according to the ordinance. 1638, all former registered Cossacks, except for the 6,000 register, were turned into serfs. The autonomy of the Zaporozhians was abolished, and they became completely dependent on the Polish crown, and ordinary Cossacks were forced to perform all sorts of labor and pay burdensome taxes. This policy helped calm the Cossacks, and the next 10 years will go down in Polish history as a golden peace. Meanwhile, Bohdan Khmelnytsky dedicated his following years to his household in his native village of Zboriv. Because of his views on the politics of the Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth, he had many enemies among the Polish nobility. One of them was the Chernigov sub-prefect, Danilo Chaplinsky. Bohdan, lunch is ready. Do you want to eat? Sorry, my love. I'm off to take care of my Cossack duties. The service calls. Goodbye. Look at me. I am Bohdan Khmelnytsky, the coolest Cossack. Ugh, it's just disgusting. Who are you? I am Danilo Chaplinsky, and by the order of the Polish crown, taking everything here. Is this Bohdan's pig? Yes, I'm taking them. Is this his clothing? Yeah, I'm taking him. Are you his wife? Yes, I'm taking you. Is this his son? Are you going to take me? No. We're going to beat you. The son's injuries were so severe that he actually died. Khmelnytsky had his estate, son and wife taken from him, but even then he didn't want to resort to violence. He aimed to regain his rights through the judicial system. Bohdan had the privilege of Zboriv since '46, so he believed he would win the case. But despite this, no one cared at all, and he couldn't prove anything. The thing is, such cases were common back then. The Cossacks directly suffered from the nobility, and Khmelnytsky is not the only victim. Moreover, the national oppression from the Polish authorities was only increasing. Despite the recognition of the Orthodox Church, there was an active process of Catholicizing the population. Restrictions were imposed on education and the use of the Ukrainian language. Ordinary peasants suffered from the increase in days of forced labor, and the Cossacks were on the brink of losing their status after the ordination. Khmelnytsky had to personally visit the king and tell him about his problem. Vlad, listen. You know I love and respect you. We have a lot of common ideas, but the situation in the country is terrible. They don't take us Ukrainians seriously at all. I'm asking you, do something about the nobility. Yeah, to lift them up and slam them down. Bohdan, I hate them myself. But they are so powerful in the country that I can't do anything. Well, you guys are like warriors and you have muskets and sabers. Go solve your problems yourselves. This only meant one thing. Khmelnytsky had to fight against the Polish aristocracy. In truth, probably no one expected that Bohdan would become so significant. At the end of December 1647, Bohdan Khmelnytsky, along with his son Tymish and a detachment of 400 Cossacks, headed to Zaporizhia. On January 24th, he captured all the boats and provisions, and on the 25th, he took the fortress at the Sich. Many Cossacks, while serving under the crown, switched to Bohdan's side. Yes, Cossack brothers. Today we stand at a crossroads in history. We have a chance to change the fate of our Ukraine, to make it great, strong and independent. Recognize me as the hetman, and we will stand for the honor of Ukraine's freedom. May our swords always protect our loved ones and our freedom. I urge you to support me on this path. The path of freedom, dignity and glory. Let's stand shoulder to shoulder like true sons of our Mother Earth. And together we will defeat our common enemy. Bohdan Khmelnytsky was elected hetman of the United Cossack Forces. From the preparations for the armed uprising, he sent out universals to the Ukrainian people, calling them to join the ranks of the Cossack army. He established gunpowder production and organized the procurement of weapons and ammunition. Khmelnytsky knew military affairs well, and he understood that the Cossacks had one major problem. These are the missing notes. Being not only a strong warrior but also a skilled strategist, he had the idea to join the Crimean Khan in Bakhchisarai and ask for support for the upcoming war. Peace be upon you. I am the Crimean Khan Islam Garay III. My brothers were cutting down Ukrainians. My father was cutting down Ukrainians. My grandfather also chopped down Ukrainians. Tell me, what am I going to do with you? Peace be upon you, brother. Wait, I have a business proposal for you. Your economy is built on handing over captured prisoners to our Turkish brothers. If you support me in my war, you will be able to take captives of anyone except Ukrainians. Brother. And that sounds cool. In 1648, the Bakhchisarai agreement was signed between the Hetmanate and the Crimean Khan. The military leader Tugay Bey came to help with a 40,000-strong detachment of Crimean Tatars. Now Khmelnytsky was no longer afraid of a surprise attack from the south. Everything was ready for war. In 1648, the Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth sent an army against Khmelnytsky. The Cossacks defeated the Polish forces. But it was a fatal mistake for the Poles to divide the army, and in May 1848, the Cossacks, together with the Tatars, defeated the Polish troops, and Potocki's son Stefan was killed on that battlefield. This battle went down in history as the Battle of the Yellow Waters and marked the beginning of Khmelnytsky's first campaign. After that, the Polish army led by Potocki and Kalinowski retreated to Korsun, where they took refuge in a fortified camp. On May 14th, the troops of Bohdan Khmelnytsky and his allies approached the city, marking the second significant victory over the Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth, and the leaders of the Polish army fell into Tatar captivity. Bohdan again issued manifestos to the Ukrainians, calling them to rise up against Polish rule, and it was successful. By the end of September, the rebels had essentially liberated all of right bank Ukraine. Upon learning that the Polish army was ready to march on the Dnieper region, Khmelnytsky headed west. The Polish army, once again led by Potocki, and the allied Cossack Tatar forces under Khmelnytsky, began the battle near the town of Pilivtsi, and this brutal fight. Guys, this is a senior meeting of the Polish government. We need to do something about the uprising. Where did this Khmelnytsky come from? And he's kicking our butts. This is no joke. Our main army is defeated. What are we going to do? We will continue the war. After the victory in the Battle of Pilivtsi in 48, a way west was opened. And on September 16, 1648, Khmelnytsky began the siege of Lviv. The wealthy barons paid a large ransom for Bohdan to retreat. He did just that, but he began the siege at the bridge. With his campaign and the rebellious forces, we can say that the Ukrainian lands were free from Polish rule. Brother, you've already done so much. Winter is starting. Sick soldiers are exhausted. There's no food, why do you need to go further? You'd better eat something and head back to Kiev. Brother, we'll do just that. I believe you. A truce was signed and the Cossacks retreated. On January 2, 1649, Bohdan's army entered Kiev. The townspeople welcomed Khmelnytsky as a leader and a hero. Almost all representatives of ethnically Ukrainian territories participated in this uprising. The Western Ukrainian rebels, the Hutsuls, made a significant contribution. Even the Bukovinian rebels, who were part of the Moldavian Principality, helped Khmelnytsky's army and participated in the siege of Lviv. This was no longer just a rebellion. This was a national liberation war. Khmelnytsky was now seriously considering the issue of independence. He justified the right of Ukrainians to create a state independent from the Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth within ethnic Ukrainian borders. He also viewed Cossack Ukraine as the successor to Kievan Rus. And what are we supposed to do? My name is Jan Kazimierz II. I am the new king of the Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth. I will personally lead the army and defeat these Cossacks. Okay, in April 1649, Jan Kazimierz launched an offensive against Khmelnytsky through Volhynia. The Lithuanian army, led by Janusz, also advanced on Kiev. Bohdan surrounded part of the enemy forces at Zboriv on July 10th, and Jan Kazimierz II said, "Hey, we need to help them." But Khmelnytsky unexpectedly attacked and defeated the enemy forces. Meanwhile, in the north, the Lithuanians almost reached Kiev. However, Cossack raids in the borderlands forced the Lithuanians to retreat. And what about the successes? Shut your mouth, okay? It looked like Khmelnytsky was winning this war, and on August 18, 1649, the Zboriv agreement was signed between the Hetmanate and the Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth. Under it, the power of the Hetmanate extends to the Kiev, Chernihiv, and Bratslav voivodeships. Chyhyryn is the residence of the Hetman. The Cossack register now consists of 40,000 individuals. Only Ukrainians were to hold government positions in Ukrainian lands. The Kiev Metropolitan received a seat in the same, and all of this was now called the Zaporizhian Army. For Khmelnytsky, this was a huge victory. But now the harsh diplomatic games begin. Watch the fingers. Khmelnytsky begins to correspond with the Moscow Tsar to create an alliance, but instead, things go the other way, stopping the ambassadors so that Moscow does not join the war. Then the Hetman strengthened diplomatic relations with the Crimean Khanate and the Ottoman Empire, while Poland began to starve with the support of the Moldavian master Vasil Lupu. Khmelnytsky sent his son Timish to secure an alliance through marriage to Rozanda, Vasily Lupu's daughter. The marriage of Timish and Rozanda, the daughter of Vasily Lupu, was to be the guarantee of the alliance. But while the Cossacks were occupied in Moldavia, on February 20th, 51, the Poles attacked Bratslav. The main battle was to take place near Barastechko in Volhynia. 50,000 Polish troops stood against the united Cossack Tatar army. So, what's our plan going to be? Brother... What, brother? I was thinking... I'm going home, but you can't leave me in such a difficult time. Yeah, but I have an urgent matter in Bakhchisarai. You know, we'll take you captive. It was an unreal Crimean joke because Khmelnytsky was taken captive, and the Cossack army was led by Ivan Bohdan. He was able to tactically maneuver and save a large part of the Cossack forces, but essentially, the Poles emerged victorious in this battle. They retreated to Bila Tserkva, where Khmelnytsky rejoined them. At this time, the Lithuanians reached Kiev again and burned it down. The Polish and Cossack armies engaged in a difficult but not decisive battle near Bila Tserkva. Tired from the war, both sides began negotiations, which resulted in the Treaty of Bila Tserkva. Now the power of the Hetmanate was limited only to the Kiev voivodeship. The Cossack register was reduced to 20,000 people. The Polish magnates returned to their military estates, and Polish authority was restored in Bratslav and Chernihiv. This is really not cool at all. In the Hetmanate, signs of weakening and despair were becoming more and more apparent. That's when Khmelnytsky started to rely more on external alliances. And in 52, Tymish decided again to go to Moldavia for an alliance marriage. Whoa, this marriage will strengthen the Cossack army. Well, yeah, so what? You can't do that. The Poles struck the Cossack army with a 30,000 strong detachment. And who knows what would have happened if Khmelnytsky hadn't managed to come to Timish's aid. But the fact is that it was a brilliant Cossack victory, and in August 52, Tymish married Rosenda. Now the Hetmanate and Moldavia are good friends. Moreover, after this victory, the Hetmanate restored its authority in Bratslav and Chernihiv. Just a second. The Balash authority supported the radical Moldavian boyars, and they overthrew Vasil Lupu. And Tymish died along with him. Well, why? Why is everything going wrong? Starting in February 53, Polish troops frequently carried out devastating raids on Ukrainian lands, and in the fall, Jan Kazimir set up camp with a 40,000-strong army near the town of Jvanets. The main forces of the Cossack and Tatar army arrived there and defeated the Polish forces. Peace be upon you, brother. And peace be upon you, brother. Brother, listen, our alliance can no longer stand. I'm throwing this to you. Now I will fight on the side of the Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth. The king promised me a lot of captives. Brother, what? You already abandoned me once, and because of you, we lost. You left me in captivity, yet I still continued to listen to you as my brother. Brother, understand. It's just business. You were like a brother to me. Brother, do you want to go for a snack? Get out of here. Now Khmelnytsky had no allies. The Moldavian alliance has failed. The Crimean Khan abandoned the Cossacks. European Catholic countries support Catholic Poland, while the Orthodox Balkans are preoccupied with their own issues. And who can help Khmelnytsky now in this war? Hello. Name is Alexei Mikhailovich. I, the Tsar of Moscow, offer you my hand of assistance. The Hetmanate is under the protectorate of the Moscow Tsardom, and I promise you that I will never violate your sovereignty, restrict your language and national identity, or oppress the interests of Ukrainians for the benefit of the Russians. And what was Khmelnytsky supposed to do? The statehood of the Ukrainians was at stake. He believed in a bright future and the Tsar, and the decision was made at the Pereyaslav Council for Hetmanate's transition to Moscow's protectorate. Later, the agreements were solidified with the March Articles, so the Cossacks retained all their rights and freedoms, but the supremacy of the Moscow Tsar over the hetman was reinforced. A Moscow garrison was stationed in Kyiv. The Cossacks were forbidden to have diplomatic relations with the Poles and the Ottomans, and now the Cossacks were paying tribute to the Muscovites. And in the spring of 54, the Cossack army continued military actions alongside the Muscovites. They achieved considerable success. The main battles took place in Right Bank Ukraine, Western Ukraine, and Belarus. In the fall of 54, the Poles entered Bratslav-Shchina, and on January 20th, 55, it reached Uman. Khmelnytsky and the Muscovite commander Sheremetev went to meet the enemy, and a tough but still not decisive battle took place near Okhmatov. Wait a second, and how are things in the north in Sweden? Your Majesty, King Charles II Gustav, the mighty Commonwealth is now very weak. Maybe we should take this moment and declare war. What's wrong with you? We are a civil European society. Absolutely peaceful Sweden. How is it possible to engage in such lowly affairs in the modern world? Well, alright, let's declare war. In the summer of 1655, Sweden occupied the northern parts of the Commonwealth, but Moscow, concerned about the spread of Swedish power, began to mobilize forces against the Swedish king, and the Commonwealth is such, hey, maybe we should fight against Sweden together. Let's do it. This led to the Vilnius Truce, and now Moscow and Poland are friends. And you know what? Damn you. I will make an alliance with Sweden and Transylvania, and we will divide the territories of the Commonwealth together. That's how it happened. But the new allies had very different goals regarding this war, and Catholic Poland was further supported by the Habsburg Empire. There was even a whole military campaign led by Yuri Rakoczy and Anton Zhdanovich, but the campaign ended unsuccessfully. This defeat only brought Khmelnytsky closer to death. The National Liberation War united the Ukrainian lands and inspired the people to fight for self-determination. Khmelnytsky became a symbol of the struggle for national identity and independence. This event remains an important part of Ukraine's history and reminds us of the significance of the struggle for our own freedom and independence. The question arose of who would be the hetman after Bohdan's death, and many supported Yuri Khmelnytsky, second son of Bohdan Khmelnytsky, my son. Remember, let your heart always beat for a free Ukraine. For her dignity and independence, cherish our land as your most precious treasure. And may your soul always be filled with strength and determination. Remember that we are Cossacks. Our will is unyielding, and our fate is in our own hands. Live, my son. Live for the glory of Ukraine. Okay, Dad. I will become a worthy Cossack.